I do want to talk, Anthony, about an award that it feels like maybe the Dodgers deserved more consideration for. One man in particular, that would be Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts maybe didn't deserve to win the Manager of the Year. We can talk about that. But for him not even to be a finalist among the 3 finalists for this award, behind Milwaukee's manager, the Mets manager, and the Padres manager, given what the Dodgers went through, Anthony, am I crazy for thinking it was absurd for Dave Roberts not to even be a finalist in this award?
Look, we've come on here before, and we've given Dave Roberts his heat, and we've given him praise when he's deserved it. I thought that this one was a bit of a slap in the face for him.
Yeah.
And I think a bit of a slap in the face for the non-superstar Dodgers as well, because I think what him being left out of that top 3 for me says that it didn't really matter to anybody what happened actually on the field.
Yeah.
Because the Dodgers just had expectations. They lived up to those expectations during the regular season, finishing first. And maybe the fact that it was even a race in the last 10 days with the Padres made voters go, yeah, he didn't do the job well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happens when some writers don't pay attention to the teams that they're covering in that league every day. Obviously they may be beat writers who cover one team every day, or whatever their situation may be. But I think if you paid attention to this club all season long, you understand that I think the job that he did and the job that those like I said, non-superstar players did to get them over that hump and to get past the Padres was absolutely one of the best managing jobs that he's done since he's been in a Dodger uniform. And I thought that to not be recognized for that, look, the World Series recognizes him for it, but I think for him not to be recognized in that way is a bit shameful, because you look at the other guys who are on that list, and basically it's just become, oh, well, your expectations were either just fair or really poor, and you met them or exceeded them. And there's no real reward for a team or a manager who comes into the season with expectations, who was on the hot seat, who has admitted he felt like he was on the hot seat, and then has his roster depleted and still comes up with the best record in baseball. Like, for me, that should deserve something, at least a nod.
I'm with you, and it's 2 things to point out. The first is this award is a regular season award. It has nothing to do with what Dave Roberts did in the postseason in the World Series when he was fantastic. So worth pointing that out. The second thing is, if you look at preseason projected win totals, okay? Preseason projected win totals, the Brewers, who their manager was nominated, 77.5 wins. Padres, 83.5 wins was the over-under. Mets, 81.5 wins. Okay, all of those 3 teams grossly exceeded those numbers. The Brewers won 93 games. The Mets won 89 games. The Padres won 93 games. So if you're just looking at, like, here are preseason expectations and here's performance, the Brewers were projected to be a below 500 team. They win 93 games and win their division. But to your point, the reason this makes me so mad.
Awful division, and Pat Murphy had zero heat on him at all because Craig Counsell left.
Totally. And look, I'll say this. I think the Brewers manager deserved to win it. All of what you just said is true. Everybody expected this team to be really, really bad. They expected them to be sellers. They expected Willy Adames to get traded once the season started because that division was so bad. They end up with the Cubs and the Cardinals are, just about 500 teams. But to your point, it's a bad division. All I'm saying is, compared to preseason expectations, it's not a fair comparison because the expectations change for Dave Roberts. When you lose all of the guys that Dave Roberts does, we just talked about Mookie Betts. He only plays in 116 games. Max Muncy misses a bunch of time. Freddie Freeman misses some time. And that's not even getting into the starting pitching disaster that Dave Roberts had to navigate and manage with a rookie in Yamamoto, as well as Glasnow and the injury at the end of the season for him, River Ryan, Gavin Stone, Bobby Miller, like all of these guys going up and down. I think if you're checking in from time to time and adjusting your expectations, then it's Dave Roberts. Again, I'm not even arguing he should win. I just think he needs to be in the top 3. I think he's second. Like the fact that the Padres manager, here's why the Padres manager got nominated, because they've been a disaster for the last few years. And so they just weren't a disaster this year. Highly talented. Mets, one of the most expensive franchise, payrolls. Obviously, some of those guys aren't there, but like these are teams that only had low expectations because of how bad they've been for the last couple of years. To give them credit to say, hey, we overestimated how good you should have been last year, so now we're going to lower them and then you're going to exceed them. That's crazy to me. Again, if the Brewers guy goes on to win it, like, in that situation, I'm fine with it. Dave doesn't need to win it. I just think he needs to be nominated.
Yeah, I think Pat Murphy is fine to be there, and I think he's fine to win it. But those adjustments needs to go the other way also. I think once we saw the complete meltdown of a division that the NL Central was, like those expectations should have also been adjusted. And I thought the Brewers got shafted coming into the season by those expectations. Just in terms of like the lack of respect, because one, that division's not very good. Everyone knew that coming in. And then they still had one of the more talented rosters, I thought, in that division, and absolutely should have been competing for a spot there. I never understood where that lack of expectation came from the Brewers just because Craig Counsell left.
Yeah.
I don't think managers make that big of a difference where you lose a guy like Craig Counsell and all of a sudden you're expected to tank in the standings when they didn't really lose anybody, off the playing roster.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then the Padres one's interesting to me too, because like those guys come in every single season with expectations, and people, I think the Ohtani stuff and the Glass Now stuff sort of tempered that expectation this season in terms of them winning the division. But there were plenty of people who still thought that roster was talented enough to make the playoffs, which they did. And so to be like, okay, well, that guy deserves it, but not the guy who beat him out, who also had a super talented roster with a bunch of high-paid superstars.
Yeah.
I don't get that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, whether or not he should win it is a separate conversation. But Dave Roberts being behind Mendoza and Schilt, in my estimation, is crazy. And so, again, Dave Roberts, not one of the 3 finalists. We have not found out who's going to win this award yet, but Dave Roberts will not be the winner. Again, it's a regular season award. I think if you included the postseason, he'd for sure have been under more consideration. But to the point that I think you made at the beginning, here's the good news. Dave Roberts won the World Series. He cares a hell of a lot more about winning the World Series than he does about whether or not he won Manager of the Year. And so we'll see who ends up winning it. But for now, all we know is that Dave Roberts will not be the 2024 National League Manager of the Year.